doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. Okay, so today's game is probably one of the strangest things that I've played on the NES. And it's also a bit of an example of the lengths Nintendo went in the 80s to make sure that their product could be received by the whole family. It's kind of dark in spots, incredibly dark in other spots, but all in all, it's a pretty fun platformer. Today's game is from 1989. It was published by the good folks at Bandai, and my copy looks pretty beat up because of whatever reason. But today's game is Monster Party. Okay, so in Monster Party, you play as this kid named Mark, who's walking home from his Little League practice, and he's met up with by a flying creature named Bert. Bert asks Mark to accompany him back to the Dark World to help him fight off creatures who have taken over his home world. Using the magical weapon that Mark wields, everything will be okay. Now, this magical weapon, you may ask, is a baseball bat. Mark was on his way home from baseball practice after all. Mark reluctantly agrees to help him, and during the process of them getting to the Dark World, Bert fuses with Mark. And that's where our adventure begins. Now, Monster Party, for better or for worse, is your standard platformer. You go right. You use the baseball bat, Mark's baseball bat, to deflect projectiles back into enemies and to basically fight them off. It's a pretty formidable weapon. And Mark can pretty much hold his own for the most part until he gets to some boss characters that may prove a bit difficult. When that happens, during the course of the game, you run across you may run across a pill at different points of the game. You collect that pill, you turn into Bert. I know, really, really weird, really, really suggestive actually. You pop a pill, turn into a monster. Eat a flower, you can throw fireballs. Nintendo was full of drug innuendos. But yeah, in Monster Party, Bert's character can fly. As I said before, he's a winged creature. And he fires lasers, which makes him a bit more formidable than Mark is. But his powers are temporary as long as you don't drop below a certain point on your health bar. Now the standard enemies are strange enough. For example, in the first level, you fight these pairs of legs that are just sticking out of the ground. I don't know what that's even supposed to be. But the game gets even weirder when it comes to the boss characters. For instance, there's this one boss that you fight that's actually a fried shrimp, followed by a fried onion ring, followed by some other fried food. So you're fighting fried food, literally. There's another boss that's actually dead, and you just go into the room and wait for the fly to disappear. There's another boss, so you just stand and wait for these two zombies. They want you to watch them dance. They dance for a few seconds, they disappear. Then there are the bosses that you actually fight, like the giant horse-headed creature that throws cows at you. These things, I can't make them up. It's probably the strangest thing that I've ever seen on the NES, outside of Samurai Zombie Nation. And all in all, it's pretty fun. Now, the game can be a bit dark. You'll see that halfway through the first stage, where everything just changes. The ground, parts of the ground are replaced by bloody skulls, things like that. You'll also notice, if you make it to the end of the game, you'll notice something really, really macabre that happens during the ending. I won't spoil it because, you know, people flip out over spoilers, so I won't say anything, even though it's an almost 30-year-old video game. But Monster Party has a really, really strange pedigree. The prototype that never released in Japan, this game was only released in North America. The prototype of the version that was to be released in Japan actually sold a few years back on eBay for $6,000. And no one has ever actually played the prototype, though we know the prototype is legit. It's one of those games that really does prove to the world just how weird some game makers are, and I love it. It's an awesome video game. It's a great platformer, and it's one of those true undiscovered gems for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Something that every old school gamer should pick up a copy of. This has been the 8-Bit Animal, and I will catch you beautiful people tomorrow.